everybody. On the show today, I have an 8-time Emmy Award-winning commentator. He is not only commentated for basketball, which he is doing now, but he's also done things in hockey and baseball and football. This man has done just about everything, and he's got the accolades to back it up. John, thank you so much for coming on to the show today, man. Listen, the season is, ramping up. I know it's probably a lot going on in your corner right now. How's the ramp up feeling? Are you starting to feel the energy of the season coming on?
No question. And first off, Maliq, thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that. And it's right around the corner. Camp starts, so it's felt like forever since the end of the playoffs last season. But off we go. It's not going to be long here in a couple of weeks. So there are so many people around the organization excited to get going, excited to get back at it. A little bit of a new look this season, a couple of tweaks coming in, so it's going to be fun going into Camp Kenny for year number 2 under Coach Atkinson.
Yeah, absolutely. First, before I get into all my concrete questions that I want to get to, I want to let you know that you commentators are actually insane. You're actually crazy, because I was reading the article about you on The Athletic that was posted a few years ago, and it had mentioned how before every game you spend about, and this is every game, not just within a week, this is before every game, these guys, most specifically Michael, spends 10 to 12 hours preparing. You have to read 150 to 600 page documents on top of, after the previous game that you commentated for, you have to go and look at the 2 or 3 previous games for the upcoming team. You guys are insane. I can only imagine that in season, but you already have to prepare. I know you used to be a lawyer, John. Does all that reading, is it kind of fundamental for you at this point?
Well, that crazy description is certainly fitting when you're talking about me. But yeah, I tell you what, is it a lot of work? No question. And even during the summer, just this morning, pouring through all the things that take place when the league is, when the league's down. We have to go through the draft, we have to go through free agency, all that prep time. That takes a while as well. But I tell you what, it's one of those things, Maliq, where if you really enjoy what you do, and I tell young broadcasters, not even broadcasters, I just tell young folks asking about, hey, how did you get into the profession, or how did you get to where you are? What was your educational background? I say, if you love what you do every day, it never really feels like work.
Now, getting into more of your job with the Cavs, I would say this season's going to be definitely an interesting one. And I think you guys always bring the sauce as the broadcast team, and you've been more of a local guy throughout your broadcasting career. But I think this is a little spicy question I want to ask here. When you think of being a local broadcaster, do you like being a local broadcaster better than the idea of doing it nationally? Mainly for the NBA.
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses, but I think the biggest plus of being local is that you just get to know everybody so well. Yeah. Once camp starts, we basically see the entire coaching staff, every player, virtually every day, Maliq. We're in practice with them when they practice. We go on the plane with them, we travel, and through that, you build relationships, not even, intentionally, I really need to talk to this guy, so I know so much about him. You almost by accident develop these great relationships with players and with coaches that enable you to tell their stories just so much better than you'd ever be. You could do all the prep in the world as a national broadcaster, but you're bouncing around and doing different teams. I think, the intimacy that you're able to develop with these guys over the course of 9 months, starting with camp and ending in the postseason, is something that not only is special, but it's something that makes our broadcast special, because then we can enhance the viewer's enjoyment in terms of some of the nuances and the intricacies of what this team is all about, and to give reasons why, along with, they're terrific players, they're having a great season, but to give you more reasons to like these guys and to tune in. So I really enjoy the aspect of being a broadcaster with a particular team now, for all the years that I've been doing it, over a decade, on radio and also on television. You also get to know the ownership group. You get to know the front office. You get to know so much about what makes this organization special. Even the fact that, they're always out in the community, that's a big backbone of what the Cavalier organization does. Any Dan Gilbert-led organization, giving back is so critical and so important, and such a part of the fabric of this group. to be able to relay that home to all of our viewers is terrific, and I think that's part of the beauty of being a local broadcaster and being focused on just one particular team.
Yeah, so you talk about the relationships you developed, and I asked Austin Carr this same type of question, and I'm always interested to ask questions like this to local broadcasters, but out of the players on the Cavs current team, who would you say, like being a local broadcast team and being the closest to the team, what player have you grown the closest to?
You know what's interesting, Maliq? It's a hard question because this particular group is such a good group, and I'm not passing on the question by any
Yeah,
means, but really 1 through 15, this is in terms of good guys, as good of a team I've ever been around. And
yeah,
like you mentioned, I've had the good fortune of being able to do basketball, and hockey, and baseball at the professional level, football as well. And man, you want to talk about an easy group of guys to root for. This is one of the greatest groups I've ever been around. You can throw the coaching staff in there as well. It's just a really easy team to root for, really easy team to get to know, to be able to talk to. But again, when you see these guys out there, we have a lot of really good underdog stories too, Malik. I
absolutely.
mean, you look from top to bottom. I mean, Max Struess underdog, Sammy Merrill underdog. We have some up and coming guys as well. Craig Porter's a good underdog story, but that up and down the lineup, there are guys, yes, we have the lottery picks, and there also are the guys who were undrafted. Dean Wade's another guy, undrafted or drafted late in the NBA draft, who have made a name for themselves and who are, contributors as well. So it really is. It's a special group, and at 1 through 15, it's a bunch of really easy guys to root for.
Yeah, I was talking to Austin about it, and he kind of said the same thing. It's like they're all just very welcoming, very friendly, just a great group of guys to be around. I think that speaks to, I mean, the camaraderie within the team in itself and how they interact with each other.
I do too. When you think about it, chemistry-wise, Maliq, basketball's really unique in terms of if you don't like a guy or two that you're playing out there with, it shows,
Yeah,
right? I mean, in baseball, it doesn't matter if the starting pitcher isn't best buddies with the DH who doesn't like a middle reliever, right? It doesn't really make
yeah,
much of a difference. If you're out there playing basketball and you don't like, you know what I mean? Like you don't like somebody's game or there's a
yeah,
problem, it's really obvious. It's really apparent when you see teams like that. And again, a really easy key is look at the bench. Look at the benches when players are scoring and see the reaction of their teammates. A real telltale sign in terms of what players really think about some of
yeah,
their teammates. And the Cavs are great in that department. I think it's a big reason why this team wins 64 games last season. A big reason why it continues to be on the ascent. Right now, the next step, obviously, let's get farther in the playoffs. Let's make things happen, come postseason time. But it's a team that, no question, is trending in the right direction. Chemistry is critical. The front office knows this, and they've recruited and drafted and traded for players that work and mesh. And again, I think it manifests itself out there on the floor.
yeah. Now about you, John, because when you look at your career with the Cavs, you took over for Joe Tate, late great Joe Tate. Then you took over for the late great Fred McLeod. I think your ability to succeed, guys, has been incredible because you've made such a great name for yourself when doing this. But you've had a luxurious career, and I'm just thinking, like, when dudes are as talented as John Michael, I'm wondering, like, I think about like LeBron. Does LeBron ever go on YouTube and just search up some of his highlights? And like I'm like, for you, John, do you ever just go on YouTube and just look up some of your best calls and some of your favorite calls and just sit back and just enjoy it?
Yeah, I don't know about you comparing me to LeBron in any aspect, but I get the question and I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying. It's funny that you talk about that preparation. Such a big part of my preparation is actually watching all of my games, and when it was radio, listening to all of my games. So I don't go cherry picking looking for highlights, but every single game that I do, I listen to and I take notes.
yeah,
And I take notes, hard. I'm very critical of my performance, and I truly feel that if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And even, people are like, well, wait a second, you've been doing this for a long, long time. You still watch each and every game, and the answer is a resounding yes. And when I
yes,
talk to young broadcasters, you want to talk about the number one way to improve That's it. And personally, I watch games. I have in the left column, I've been doing this since I started. In the left column, I write things that I did not like. In the right column, I like things that I like. And still, typically, Maliq, I might have one or two words in the I like this column, and I might have a litany of 3 pages where I could do something better. And I really think too that, again, we're talking about young broadcasters. You could be making the same mistake over and over and over, and if you don't listen to yourself and you don't realize that it's an irritating habit, or you keep saying the same thing the same way. The score, for example, simplest thing there is, right? Well, if you keep saying it the same way, it gets grating, it gets irritating. So part of my biggest advice is, please, if you're a young broadcaster, listen to everything you do critically, and make sure, and then study those notes and make sure you don't do it again. So I hope that answered your question. That am I reviewing my stuff still constantly? That's part of the grind, if you will. That's part of preparing for the upcoming game or games, is making sure that it looks and sounds precisely the way I want it to sound on a nightly basis.
Yeah, okay. So this is one of my favorite questions I wanted to ask you. You talk about a Donovan Mitchell fast break, or just a Cavs fast break in general, or a Darius Garland isolation, or Evan Mobley block, a Jarrett Allen alley-oop. What is your funnest type of sequence to call for this specific Cavs team?
That's a really interesting question. I never even thought about that. I think the most fun for me is when it's going back and forth. I don't know if there's a specific play. I don't know if an alley-oop or dunk, but I like when it gets going and it gets back and forth, and they're defending and scoring and defending and scoring, and we get in those sequences where you can barely breathe, but they're just going back and forth. To me, it's the most challenging. To me, it's the you can prepare all you want, but if you're not ready to go once it starts, then you're going to be behind. It's those sequences are difficult. They're difficult to do, and to me, they're the most enjoyable, the most rewarding when I go back and review and say, wow, that 40-second span or 50 or 60-second span really sounded great in terms of covering all the action that took place.
John, I think the funniest thing of watching Cavs games is when that back and forth will be happening, and the Cavs will be going on a run, and they'll do something really spectacular on the offensive end. Then the other team will pass the ball a few times on the other side of the court, and then they'll hit the craziest three, and you'll be calling it so energetically, but as soon as they hit the shot, you're like, oh boy. And it is the funniest thing ever. And I love that, because it's what I believe is what you have to do as a local broadcaster, and I think is what separates you guys from the national guys, is you get to put a little of that emotion in it. Would you say that as a local broadcaster, they encourage you guys to put that type of emotion in it?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. My approach has always been this, Maliq, that when you listen to our game, it's clear who we are rooting for, yet we can still give you an unbiased game. Yes. One of the most difficult things to listen to for me is when you watch, again, we watch tons of local, that's what we're reviewing, right? We have the league pass. We're watching everybody around the league. Yeah. Guys are relentlessly complaining about calls, or every call should go their team's way, and every call, and vice versa. It gets hard after a while. It gets hard to listen to. Yeah. So part of what I pride myself in, Brad's the same. I mean, I feel the same way about Brad Doherty. I feel the same way certainly about Austin. Is there is no question when you watch our game, even if you didn't have the logo in the corner, you know exactly who we're rooting for because of our excitement when one team has success and the other team does not. Yet it's still unbiased in terms of keeping our integrity with what we're seeing in front of us. So I think that's the trick, and that's not easy. When you're calling games for a particular team, it's easy to get excited, obviously, for that team, and not, be more matter of fact for the other team. Yet to keep the feel, I think, unbiased is what to me is a super important part of what we do, and something I'm certainly proud of that I feel that we've been able to do over the last handful of years.
Yeah, it's funny you mention all of that too, because there will be times where maybe Bally isn't working, or the channel isn't popping up, and I'll be like, okay, I'll just go watch the Cavs game on another team's channel until Bally starts working again. And 5 seconds in, I'll already be annoyed by the other commentators, because I'm like, they're rooting for the other team. Like I want John, I want Brad, I want Austin. I want them to be saying everything that I'm thinking. So yeah, I truly love that approach. Now I asked you about, like your favorite sequences to call with this Cavs team, but you also commentated during the 2016 season on the radio. So I know you didn't give a specific type play for these current Cavs, but for the 2016 Cavs, what was kind of your favorite type of sequence that happened regularly to call?
Well, I don't regularly. Well, watching LeBron is always special. I mean, when you talk about a player that's generational, it's not just LeBron. Obviously Michael Jordan. Some of the greats around the league. They have a knack of making the extraordinary seem routine, and you just forget. It becomes so usual and normal for him to go for 30 or to dish out 12. And sometimes you forget. I mean, that's a career night for most players in the NBA, what he does on a routine basis. So that's just part of seeing that take place, and unfold during those 4 trips to the finals. I think that's where I'd start. But, in terms of the plays, Game 7, I mean, how many big plays were there in Game 7? Kyrie's 3 with 53 seconds left. LeBron's track down block. I mean, so many little plays. J.R. Smith coming out of the locker room with the Cavs down in that ball game early in the third at Oracle Arena was rocking, and J.R. silenced everybody.
Yes. And
it went from Golden State's rolling, they're feeling good going into the locker room, to all of a sudden just a din went over. It just got a little more silent in there, and almost anxiousness and worry, and it was palpable. And just to see all of these little things unfold throughout the entire second half, and then finally it all came rushing through at the end. These guys win the whole thing and then head into the locker room and everything else. I mean, you would talk about a special moment. That's a broadcaster's dream. But all that hard work, all that everything that we did on the broadcast side, but mainly the players and the coaches, to see just almost the exhale, oh my gosh, we finally did this, not just for us, but for the city, and to break the 52-year drought. Special stuff, Maliq.
I did a lot of background on you, John, and I don't mean to sound federal or anything, but I did a lot of background, and I think your story is probably my favorite story of any broadcaster that I've ever watched, because you started off as a lawyer. Like, you did all the work in college, you got out of college, you were a lawyer for 5 years, but you decided to make that jump from making you were making money as a lawyer, 6 figures, to then decide to be like, okay, I'm gonna commentate for baseball games, and you earned, like I heard, $5,000 or less in a season. Like, that is a jump, and from that, I'm like, nobody can tell John that he does not love the game. So, I mean, in instances like that, are there any other points in your career where it's been like, okay, because of this, nobody can tell me that I do not seriously love this craft and love this job?
Yeah, well, it's funny you ask. There's a fine line between aggressiveness and lunacy, and we were teetering on that line for quite a while. I still feel like I teeter on that line nowadays. But yeah, was it a leap of faith? It was. But again, I harken back to what I told you just a moment ago, that I was practicing law, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was a trial attorney. I was in court during the day, taking depositions as well, and that's basically what we did year round. But at night, I got a job with a local network, just calling high school football games, and completely fell in love with it. And then when football season was over, they said, "Can you do hockey?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I can do hockey, I can do basketball, so I can do whatever you need." So after a while, I was around the clock doing games in the evening after I practiced law during the day. And again, you get to a point where you say, this is something I truly love, and this is something I want to do. And if I don't give this thing a shot, I'll never do it. Now's the time. I was relatively young enough when I gave it a shot. But yeah, that was a little bit of a financial hit, and it was $5,000 a season tops, by the way. But I don't think we even touched $5,000. But you want to talk about motivation, just to get going and make sure you do what you need to do. to get the job done. That'll get you into pretty good, when you prep, that'll get you in pretty good habits real fast when your money's running out quickly and you need to hopefully from season to season jump up. So I went from baseball, I went into minor league hockey, and then every 2 seasons from there, I was fortunate to move up a level until I made it to the NHL 6 seasons after I decided to put the practice of law on hold. So, yeah, is it fortunate? It is. I mean, the right people have to hear you at the right time. But again, in terms of that preparation, you have to do what you need to do to put yourself in a position where if there happens to be somebody, listening at the right time, you're calling the game the way you need to call it. So I feel, fortunate. I feel blessed, but it was, to answer your question, was it a leap of faith? It was. But I think when you look at a lot of people who love what they're doing in life, it's not all that, it's not all that out of the ordinary. I think everybody has to take those kind of risks to really take those steps to do something you truly enjoy and truly love. And like I said, I've been fortunate and blessed that I've been able to do that.
Yeah, like from that story, like I said, it's one of my favorites. Like, I'm like, this man like truly loves this job. Like, you cannot tell him otherwise. Well, John, I know you're a busy guy, especially around this time. So I got my 20 minutes in. I just really thank you so much because, obviously going into this and before meeting you and everything, I'm like, John's absolutely one of my favorite broadcasters, but you're also one of my favorite people now that I've met in the sports media because, I mean, just the way we went about scheduling this, I just loved it. Like, you were so open with your schedule. You tried to find ways to fit me in. So I just genuinely appreciate it, man. And thank you so much.
You got it. I tell you what, too, Maliq. We don't, we're not allowed. We don't do a whole heck of a lot of these things. And I just wanted to say, you're doing a wonderful job. Appreciate your work. Appreciate the way you handled this as well in terms of setting everything up. Interview is great. And hey, man, just keep up the great work.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much, everybody. That was the great John Michael. I'm Maliq Hicks signing off. Peace out, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace.